Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wicked Encounters, where we explore just what goes bump in the night. I'm your host, Allie, and it's every horror fan's favorite time of year, October! In celebration of the spookiest month, I've compiled a list of movies that I think are worth sharing with you guys, and I'm calling it the 31 Days of Wicked Horror. This is it, guys. We're on the final third of October now, the final 10. But in case it's your first time checking in, I'll tell you how I've selected these movies that I believe are worthy enough for you to watch. But first, the rules. First off, none of the movies are going to be older than 20 years, so we can add some newer videos to our must-watch lists instead of continuing to repeat the same ones from 50 years ago. Ever seen The Fly? Oh, I'm sure you've known someone who's seen The Fly. Secondly, I'll be providing the synopsis and plot of the movies for those who may not like surprises or for those who just want to listen to know what the movies are about. There will be a slide letting you know when we're coming up on it, and I'll let you know where it's safe to click on to avoid spoilers. Also, while many of the movies are streamable, I'm not going to provide the info on where you can watch them because it varies based on where you live. And streaming services, not gonna lie, they've kind of been on my shit list lately. They keep taking down all the movies that I want to watch. Finally, I'm going to give you some reasons as to why the movie stands out and why I think you'll like it. So, 21 on our list is Creep. Creep is a 2014 found-footage psychological horror film directed by Patrick Brice and co-written by Brice and Mark Duplass, with production by Blumhouse Productions and Duplass Brothers Production. It's a minimalist, two-person story about an unsettling encounter that escalates into a terrifying psychological game. I'm going to go more in depth and go over the plot of the movie now, so if you'd like to skip, you'll know where to skip to in 3, 2, 1. The film follows... Let me break out my spooky voice. The film follows Aaron, a freelance videographer who answers a vague online ad offering $1,000 for a day's worth of filming. The ad mentions discretion as an important quality, but Aaron, in need of money, decides to accept the job without much hesitation. He drives to a remote cabin in a mountain town, where he meets Joseph, the man who placed the ad. Joseph appears to be friendly, quirky, and slightly odd. He explains to Aaron that he has terminal cancer and only a few months left to live. His wife, Angela, is pregnant with their first child, and Joseph wants to create a video diary for his unborn son, so the child will know who his father was after he dies. This seems like a heartfelt request, and Aaron agrees to help film Joseph's day. At first, things seem relatively normal, though Joseph's behavior is peculiar from the start. He opens the day by taking Aaron into the bathroom to film him reenacting bathing his imaginary baby, as part of a father-child bonding moment. This, while strange, still seems harmless. But Joseph's actions become progressively more bizarre. He invites Aaron to take a walk with him in the woods, where he talks about overcoming his fear of death, and introduces Aaron to a natural spring he calls the Miracle Waters. He tells Aaron an unsettling story about how he used to pretend to drown as a child, just to feel the experience of death. As the day goes on, Joseph's eccentricities grow more disturbing. He shows Aaron a disturbing wolf mask named Peach Fuzz, explaining it as something his father used to wear while playfully dancing for him as a child. Joseph then begins telling Aaron dark and unsettling stories, such as ones where he confesses to have secretly videotaped Angela without her knowing. Throughout these moments, Joseph fluctuates between unsettling charm and unnerving behavior, causing Aaron and the audience to question the sincerity of his motives. Tension rises when Aaron tries to leave, and Joseph convinces him to stay for a drink. As the night continues, Joseph's manipulative and unbalanced nature becomes more apparent. He suggests that they share their darkest secrets, but when Aaron finally has enough and tries to leave the cabin, he finds his car keys missing. Joseph insists that it's all a misunderstanding, and that Aaron should stay the night for safety since it's so dark outside. Aaron reluctantly agrees. After going to bed, Aaron finds Joseph standing wearing the Peach Fuzz mask and blocking the door. Visibly terrified, Aaron grabs his camera and leaves the house when Joseph isn't looking, making it home safely. The situation doesn't end there. Aaron begins receiving strange packages from Joseph, including a DVD where Joseph apologizes for his behavior and claims that it was all just a joke. He sends Aaron a stuffed wolf toy with a knife in it as a supposed peace offering. Joseph's persistence escalates as he continues sending more DVDs, each becoming more menacing. Joseph admits that he has been watching Aaron since he left the cabin and continues to monitor his movements. Eventually, Joseph sends Aaron a message asking to meet in a public park so they can put the matter to rest once and for all. Aaron, feeling uneasy but also wanting closure, agrees to the meeting. In the final scene, Aaron sets up his camera in the park to film the encounter from a distance. As Aaron waits on a park bench, Joseph sneaks up behind him, pulls out an axe, and violently kills Aaron with a single blow to the head. The camera captures everything. The final twist reveals that Joseph has done this before. As he watches the footage of the murder alongside tapes of his previous victims, it becomes clear that Joseph is a serial killer who's been luring people with his ad and recording their deaths as part of his twisted hobby. In the film's chilling final moment, Joseph speaks directly to the camera, praising Aaron for being the perfect victim because he trusted him, even at the end. Joseph then tenderly places a label with Aaron's name on the videotape, placing it into his collection of victims' tapes, signifying that the cycle will continue. And with that, the film ends. Hello! I'm glad you're still here. To those who stayed, I hope you enjoyed what you heard enough to give it a watch. And for those who skipped, let me just say you are missing out with this one because, oh my god, talk about a stupid victim. I'm sorry, you should never say that about victims. Talk about a dunce! But despite all that, I bet you're wondering why it made it onto the list. What makes Creep stand out? For starters, it has such a nice minimalist approach. Creep stands out for its minimalist style. The film primarily features only two characters, Aaron and Joseph. The entire narrative is confined to a single day of interaction. There's no elaborate special effects, no big set pieces, or a large cast, making it an intimate, claustrophobic experience that relies heavily on the strength of the characters and the tension between them. This minimalism creates a sense of realism that amplifies the psychological horror. Unpredictable tone and genre blending. The film expertly blends horror with dark humor and uncomfortable awkwardness. Joseph's behavior is odd and quirky in ways that feel almost humorous at first, lulling both Aaron and the audience into a false sense of security. But as his actions grow more sinister, the line between humor and terror becomes blurred, creating an unsettling feeling that keeps viewers off balance throughout. The film plays with audience expectations, making it difficult to predict where the story will go. Found footage format. But it utilizes this format in a fresh and innovative way. Instead of relying on the chaotic, shaky cam approach that many found footage films use, Creep is more deliberate and calculated with its camera work. The entire film is framed through Aaron's perspective as a hired videographer, giving the audience a reason for the constant filming and allowing them to experience the growing sense of dread in real time. The found footage style makes the film feel personal and immersive, drawing the audience directly into the tension of the situation. Character-driven horror. One of the most compelling aspects of Creep is its reliance on character-driven horror rather than supernatural or jump-scare tactics. The portrayal of Joseph is deeply unsettling because he feels real. His erratic, manipulative behavior is both disturbing and believable. Joseph's charm, awkwardness, and unpredictability keeps the audience on edge, never quite sure if he's harmlessly eccentric or genuinely dangerous until it's too late. This dynamic is what makes the film's horror resonate, as it taps into the fear of trusting someone who turns out to be unhinged. Psychological manipulation. The film focuses on the power dynamics between Joseph and Aaron, highlighting how predators can manipulate and gaslight their victims. Joseph uses charm, guilt, and sympathy to keep Aaron from leaving, playing on his emotions to maintain control. This psychological manipulation is what makes the film so unnerving. It's not about jump scares or gore, but about the subtle way Joseph breaks down Aaron's defenses and leads him into danger. Slow burn tension. Creep is a slow-burn horror film that builds tension gradually, making the audience feel increasingly uneasy as Joseph's behavior becomes more erratic and menacing. There are no traditional horror set pieces or jump scares, but the unease grows steadily as Joseph's true nature is revealed. The quiet moments of awkward conversation and strange requests become just as unsettling as the final act of violence. Unsettling realism and ambiguity. What makes Creep especially terrifying is how realistic it feels. Joseph isn't a supernatural monster or a figure from folklore. He's just an unbalanced, charismatic individual who preys on people's vulnerabilities. This kind of predator exists in the real world, which makes the horror hit closer to home. Additionally, the film leaves many aspects of Joseph's backstory and motivations ambiguous, allowing the audience to fill in the blanks and imagine the worst. Lack of conventional horror tropes. Creep forgoes many of the typical horror tropes, such as supernatural entities, jump scares, or elaborate kills. Instead, it focuses on the discomfort of social interactions, trust, and the fear of being trapped in a situation where the danger isn't immediately clear. The horror comes from Joseph's disturbing personality, and Aaron's slow realization that he's made a fatal mistake. Overall, Creep stands out in the horror genre for its minimalist approach, character-driven suspense, and psychological tension. It subverts audience expectations with its genre blending and unsettling realism, making it a memorable and disturbing experience. And that's all I have on Creep. But don't worry, there are still 10 more movies that I'll be sharing with you. What do you think they could be? How do you feel about Creep being on the list? Would it make it onto yours? How would you have handled the situation Aaron found himself in? Personally, I might just skip town. But let me know in the comments what you'd do. I'd love to discuss horror more in depth with you all, so feel free to join the Wicked Encounters Discord group. If you like what I do and want to support me, maybe consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the little bell icon so you know when I post. If you want to support me in other ways, why not check out my Patreon? Speaking of, I'd like to give a great big thank you to my patrons, Nakala and Beefalump. You guys are just the absolute best. Well, that's all I've got time for today. So remember, I'm Allie, this is Wicked Encounters, and I'll see you next time. Bye!